afternoon, Rosie. How are you?
I'm good, and yourself, Elmi?
I'm good, thank you. Welcome to the cave. We are so happy that we finally have a very experienced child protection social worker to speak to. But before we jump into the questions, could you maybe just introduce yourself to all the child protection social workers who's going to watch this interview? Maybe just your name, your surname, where you work, what experience you have, and so forth.
Okay, I am Rossy Moeketsi. I am currently in a position of social work supervisor
Okay.
for the Department of Social Development. Uh, I've got 27 years of experience
How
as a
many?
social worker. 27 years.
Wow, that's very long. Goodness.
And all of those, I have been doing child protection work, yes. So
We have a true expert here. Child protection social work, 27 years.
7 years of experience, yes.
That's a lifetime. So again,
Yeah.
what a privilege for us that you came to the cave. Thank you again for making your time available. We
Thank you for
truly
giving me this opportunity also, yes?
absolutely. So Rosie, we're going to talk a bit about court reports today. So my first question to you is, what do you think is the golden standard for good report writing? If you could highlight one golden standard, what would that be?
Okay. My golden standard is we are talking care and protection. Make everybody in court understand what you mean when you say care. If we are definitely talking about issues of care. What do you mean? Explain. And it is very good if you can have a code of theory. And then if you talk of protection, what measures, as a professional, what measures are you recommending to court to say this you believe are measures to protect this child? Also, quote your theory and your statute. For me, that's the standard one.
Yeah, that's very good golden standard. I couldn't agree with you more. To explain properly what you mean with care and what do you mean with protection, and then highlighting not only the law,
Yes.
but theory as well. That's a very good, yeah, no, that's brilliant.
And my reason is, if you talk neglect, it might be different in other communities. Yes. Or if you talk exploitation, what do you mean? Yes. Be clear as what do you mean. Yes. And support your arguments. Yes. It's always good
Back
to support
it up,
your
yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So you shouldn't leave any room for doubt. It shouldn't be ambiguous statements when you say that a child's been neglected or not protected.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And if you talk neglect, what exactly do you mean? Be clear. So don't leave rooms for questions or any argument. For me, that will definitely be good. Nobody should question further.
That's a very good golden standard. So what I'm getting is, if I could wrap that up, it would be very specific, very clear, and backed up by theory and law.
Thank you.
Perfect. So Rosie, 27 years is a long time, and I'm sure that somewhere in the 27 years, maybe especially in the last couple of years, being in a supervisor's position, you've received maybe, hopefully not too many, but at least one or two complaints from attorneys or presiding officers, magistrates, about social workers in terms of their court reports or their conduct in court. So could you maybe enlighten us on one or two of those complaints that you've received more than once?
Okay. I can't remember having a complaint about conduct per se. I think I've got one in the past 5 years, but the usual complaint is, as social workers, we just mention through terms that we can't explain. that is a real issue, and it goes back to what I said.
Yes.
We need to explain what we mean and back up that with your theory. So one of the most complaints that I get from presiding officers and the lawyers or the attorneys is definitely we just throw away, just say neglect, just say abandonment, and we don't explain what do we mean when we say that. So, and sometimes we just say abuse. We don't even say what type of abuse. So those are most of the complaints that we usually get. And now the attorneys and the presiding officers are all on the poor child protection workers' neck.
Yeah.
Explain exactly what do you mean?
Yeah.
And it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the biggest complaint then so far from them has been that they are not clear enough, and that they use phrases or words, and then are they not able to explain it when they are asked about it? Is that what you're saying?
That is what I mean.
Okay.
Yes, that is exactly what I mean.
Yeah, so then Rosie, would you agree with me that, besides also the golden standard that you've just mentioned, being specific in your report, but to be really knowledgeable on what you write about. So if you want to talk about emotional neglect, for instance, make sure you've read up on it, make sure you've read some scientific articles, make sure you've discussed it with senior colleagues such as yourself, so that if you are questioned about it, that you're not only clear in your report, but if an attorney or a presiding officer wants to ask more clarifying questions about the phrase or the word or the concept emotional neglect, that the child protection social worker is well equipped to answer those questions.
To explain further, yes.
Yes.
That's exactly what I mean, yes.
Okay. That's a very good. And the one complaint you've received about conduct, what was that? Or do you not want to share?
Okay. It was some gestures that we show in court.
Yeah.
For example, a presiding officer will ask you something or will comment on your report, and you show like, I don't know what sign should I put in to say, you're boring me.
Your body language?
The body language, yes, yes.
Like maybe disrespectful body language?
Which I believe when the presiding officer explained, for me, it was disrespectful.
Yeah. So if I hear you correctly, Rosie, there was a scenario where a child protection social worker was in court, and the presiding officer made a comment about the report, which was a negative comment. And the child protection social worker had showed body language, maybe like rolling of the eyes, or, but it boiled down to disrespect.
Which definitely is interpreted as that, because wherever you are, when you use your body language, you need to be careful. You might mean something, but if I'm talking to you like this and I'm like, faces, it means something to you.
Absolutely.
So we need to be very careful of what we do.
Okay, so that's a good tip then. Maybe child protection social workers, no matter how angry they might be or how tired that they might be, to always try and control their emotions and control their body language, which is not always easy.
Especially in court.
But something to do nonetheless to maintain that status of being a professional person, and to, despite being reprimanded by the presiding officer, to maintain your dignity and show the other legal professionals that you can control yourself.
The dignity and the profession, just uphold it. Yes,
absolutely. So Rosie, if you could give child protection social workers who are right now in the field working out there and they're watching this interview with you, someone with 27 years experience as a child protection social worker, I mean, that is really something. If you could give them 3 practical tips that they can always keep with them when they write their court report, what would those 3 practical tips be?
Right, investigate. Individualize cases, don't generalize. couple with investigation, verify your facts, check your theory or your act before you put down. I'm telling you, nobody will ask you any question because you will have facts to say, I've seen this, I questioned about it, and these are some of the answers that I got, and this is my conclusion about it based on so and so theory, based on so and so as an act. And you make your recommendations. I'm telling you, nobody will ask you any question, and we will never be scared of going to court.
Yeah, well, that's great tips. So verify your facts, do a proper investigation, and like you said right at the beginning, in terms of your golden standard, make sure you back it up with theory and law. Yeah, that's brilliant. Rosie, so you know better than anyone how difficult this work is, and you know, child protection social workers don't always get the acknowledgement that I personally, or that we at the Cave definitely believe they deserve. Would you like to use this opportunity to give them a word of encouragement?
Yes, I wish to. I know as child protection workers, everybody else, when you talk of child protection worker, they think of removal. I want to say to all of us, we are not here to remove children because we don't have empty houses to put those children. Now, what I wish is for us to always think of family reunification, family preservation before you talk of reunification. And as long as the child is not at risk, we don't have to remove children. I'm worried every time when I come across people, they think of me coming to remove a child. I don't like it. And I believe is the way we are doing it. If we can just step back, think of preserving that family. I know it is hard, and we might get a hard issues maybe from pressures from the presiding officers, but I am saying if you do family preservation and you bring it to the attention of that presiding officer or that lawyer with facts and theories, I've never seen a report rejected by court if you have your facts. And you need to have your plan. From the word go, you need to have your plan in place so that you present your plan to say, I'm preserving it and this is my plan. I'm telling you, you will never go wrong. Just have that courage.
And Rosie, to those child protection social workers who are tired and who want to give up, what do you say to them?
Let's not give up. It is tough, but let us work towards protecting that child. If we turn a blind eye on that and we give up, how many are we social workers who are qualified or who have this passion? You know, nobody can implant that passion. Even the university, it can't. It needs to come within us. And the day that I decided I want to be a social worker, what was it? Let's just revisit that corner and we will get the energy back.
Absolutely. Rosie, I just want to say thank you so much again for your time, for your words of wisdom, your golden standard, your practical tips. I think they're really valuable. And I think if the child protection social workers can maybe jot it down somewhere, just stick it on their wall, and when they do their reports and they do their investigations, I think it might just go a little bit better with them in court. So thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely day further.
Thank you, Elmine, for having me. And I hope whatever that I said, it will help us as child protection workers.
Absolutely.
Thank you.